Hey there guys, what's happening? My name is Sumant Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Man, I got the quarantine hair going, if you can tell. Today I want to speak to you guys about brain fog. Okay, brain fog, mental clutter, whatever you want to call it. I think brain fog is a good word for it because it feels like that, right? It's like a fog, it's like a mist. You can't really function with it. And everything seems blurry and confusing and convoluted and overwhelming. So, we live in an age of a lot of digital stimulation and overwhelm. There's so much of that information overload that it leaves our brains just on a super highway of information, and it's quite chaotic at times to be able to cope with that mental stress. So we get fatigued, we get tired in our brains, and it shows through our actions and our performance levels. Stress blocks our learning, so it's important to note that. You want to understand first and foremost whether your brain fog has any underlying symptoms and where it's coming from. Now, I'm not here to diagnose you, okay? I can't diagnose you without a proper prescription, and I'm not a psychiatrist either. I'm a psychologist. There's a difference, okay? What I would tell you is that, first of all, notice if you have symptoms that relate to sleep apnea, anxiety, depression, any chronic illnesses or pain, and just try to see if that's the case. That's a very intense example, and oftentimes it's not that. It could be a side effect of a medication that you're taking. It could be from overusing drugs or caffeine. It could be from just general health issues. It could be from a lack of sleep. It could be poor nutrition, poor dietary choices. Brain fog happens from multiple different ways and different reasons. So now that we know what causes it, what can we do to treat it with our brains as sharp as a samurai sword? How you speak to yourself in your own brain is going to be incredibly important. Jim Quick, the brain coach, even says this, that if you think that you can't remember something, if you have the identity of like, oh, I can't remember that, I have a bad memory. If you have that identity trait, you're not going to be able to remember. So the first thing is to actually tell yourself that you have these capabilities. They're just dormant, okay? You have a very, very sharp brain, but it's just clouded with this fog, and now we have to demist and defog the area so that we can get to the crucial mechanism of the brain working. Because you said it yourself. The person who asked me the question, you said it yourself, you had this consistency in the past, so you do have a reference experience of being consistent, of crushing it, of having that high performance. But brain fog sometimes happens quarterly basis sometimes for people, and it's almost like just a dark cloud, and we just have to be able to cope and deal with that and be able to understand what are the underlying issues there. Okay, so a couple of things that I would personally recommend is, first of all, breath work. And if you are not familiar with breath work, I would very, very powerfully recommend some breath work. Wim Hof is a breathing technique. There's DMT breathing along with that. Wim Hof DMT breathing, as well as many other breathwork techniques. In the yogic system, we have Kapalbhati, which is just like, right? That is called the breath of fire for some of you who know that. Using breathwork will open up this kind of very pure and clear channel. It will make you feel fresh. It'll make your mind engaged, and it'll give you that clarity that you're looking for, that mental clarity. I've noticed this even just after doing it one time, right? 6 rounds of a breath, I'm just there already. Okay, so if you want, for the person who asked me the question, shoot me your email. I'll send you over a flow state activation breath work. Hopefully that will really help you out, all right? So that's the first thing, breath work. Secondly, if you're not doing breath work, I would at least recommend being mindful with your daily activities and what you're doing. Consciously, when you're drinking tea, notice that you're pouring the tea into the cup, and noticing your breath and noticing the sounds around you and noticing the touch of things. So that mindfulness is actually like a tool, right? I would say, just like meditation as well. So if you don't have a meditation practice, I would highly recommend it. That sounds like a very simple solution. It's not easy to meditate, okay? It's not. For people who are anxious and very riddled with it, a lot of anxiety and different thoughts, and it's quite difficult to sit down. What better way to strengthen that muscle though? To concentrate on one thing for an extended period of time, or to, just be with yourself without any external stimulation, or checking your phone every 5 seconds. What better way to strengthen that muscle in this day and age, the 21st century? That, as well as if you have a yogic practice, of course, it's great because your body holds a lot of tension, and that affects the mental state. The body and the mind are best friends at times, and if they're not best friends, then it's time that they are best friends. I have a weight training practice as well as I try to stretch beforehand and do a couple of yogic postures, asanas beforehand as well. And just daily walking. Just like keeping the brain activated. Movement is really good for that brain fog, okay? You want to look into some supplementation, worst case scenarios. There is a lot of nootropics out there. You can do your research in your own part, I'm going to post a lot more videos about nootropics and nootropics. So look into a few supplements, like vitamin D is a great one. A lot of people are lacking in vitamin D. A lot of people are, okay? So you might think you have the right amount, but you probably don't. I would get tested actually for all the levels, right? You might have, a thyroid issue or something like that that is underlying that you don't even know about, okay? So I would do an actual checkup that all these things are there, like even do a testosterone check, right? All of these things is really important. At least that's what I've found from my own life, is like I thought this was the issue, but then some other issue is there kind of affecting my brain fogginess, okay? Depends what kind of learner you are, okay? So if you're a visual learner, have things where you can see them. If you're auditory learner, get the audiobook version, or like have lectures that you watch online if you're audiovisual, right? So the thing is, once you understand what kind of learner you are, your learner profile, maybe you're a tactile learner, you like to practically do things with your hands. Now you've got to get creative and understand, how can I do something with my hands that will really help me? That's much more challenging, obviously, but it is possible, okay? So the thing is, understand your learning style, understand what you're good at, and optimize those strengths in what your task is or what you're going to have to perform. And avoid using words like studying and deadline, okay? Studying has the word dying in it unconsciously, and deadline has the word dead in it, which actually comes from the word, deadline comes from like a straight line of a corpse, right? An actual dead line, right? So the word origin itself tells you like this is a very dark word that we're using, but we're just using it very comfortably in this day and age, right? So try to create your own words for that. Like just use the word educating myself or learning, or instead of like working out, you could say training myself, training my body. Instead of deadline, you could say due date, for instance, okay? The words that we use oftentimes has a very important, basis in terms of how much we concentrate or not, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Find the underlying issues, reduce behaviors that create it in the first place. So, if you're drinking a lot, if you're, doing a lot of drugs that diminish your brain cells and your brain activity, address the underlying issues, improve your sleep hygiene as much as you can. I know it's tough. I know that it's, lockdown time and stuff, but try to do it as well as you can. Convince your brain that you've slept more than you've slept. See a therapist or online counselor at this moment. CBT would be the approach for you, I would say. Don't be self-critical. Analysis paralysis makes this thing worse. Digital stimulation makes this thing worse. So just allow yourself to take it easier on yourself. Find yourself for the praise. Like praise yourself. Actually actively like search for your wins instead of your losses, okay? Just have that mentality of acceleration. It's like I'm on a path. It's not 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward, right? It's just on a roll, growing. Like success is not linear anyway, that, right? So it's like, even if you are kind of getting a bit of brain fog here and there, I'm not activated, like I'm not fully functioning, I'm not at my peak, man, right? This is what the peak performance industry is about, right? Getting to your peak, optimizing, leveling up, like understanding everything about yourself and knowing yourself fully so that you can take control of the issues, right? So it's all a part of it. So, and I also want to give you a little brain game, okay? Download this app. I just downloaded it like a couple days ago, actually. It's called Brain Dots. And it's really fun, okay? You have to draw these dots to allow these 2 dots to meet, right? So you'll understand the game then. But basically, it's a really great way to like download brain games and apps when you're in your free time. You just feel like you're wasting time instead of like, scrolling social media. You can just play Brain Dots or play some kind of like Dual N-Bach is another one, like a brain training games that really help you to, facilitate that mental clarity that you're looking for. So I've noticed actually personally that when I have brain fog, I feel very quiet. I don't make a lot of noise. Like I wouldn't be able to make this video with brain fog. I'll be like, yeah, and you see, we have an underlying energy system. You just have to tap into that energy. It's there, but you just have to accelerate, amplify, exaggerate it a little bit. Like these videos, I'm amplifying my baseline energy a little bit to make it more captivating. You see what I'm saying? Like I can't talk in my regular pace. I can talk like this, but that's not engaging. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to have to push it a little bit. You're going to push it out of you a little bit. Like how you think, you got to push your mind a little bit more. Okay? Maybe you don't have that accountability or anybody pushing you a little bit more. But you got to have to like actually, discipline your mind. When it is going here and there, it's like disciplining a pet, right? Okay, I have to constantly bring myself back. As you notice, I clap, I click. I have like little rings that spin that are like little fidget spinners for me to get back and reduce my anxiety. So there's a lot of techniques here that I actually use and optimize, and I wouldn't be telling you these things if they didn't work for me or they worked for thousands of my clients. So the thing is, you want to understand what approach you actually want to take for improving your brain state, to activate a neurological awareness and an ability for you to train your brain and rewire it so that you reduce that brain fog and that brain clutter. I have a book called TPM coming out very soon, called The Ectroplasticity Method, if you would like to pre-order that.
Shoot me a message on Instagram.
And I'll send it over to you, signed copy, alright? One thing that I definitely get you guys to check out is something called gamma waves, okay? These are little gamma jumps that happen when you're actually in the flow state, and you can actually find binaural beats of this online. So I will actually add 2 of those that I like to listen to and give you those 2 in the description of the comments of this YouTube video. So feel free to check those out. And I also have one on my other channel, which is an NZT-38 sound file, which is super powerful for mental focus and getting rid of brain fog. So hope that helps you out too. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you, and stay legendary.